Welcome to the Neckbeard experience. I've got two stories for you today. One of them is a neckbeard who owns a game shop, and the other one is a gross encounter with a neckbeard in the park. I want to give a special thanks to Sean Cochran for supplying the voice for the first neckbeard. He was generous enough to lend me his voice, so I hope you guys enjoy. Without further ado, let's get started. To start off, let me give you some information about myself. At the moment, I'm a 29-year-old woman. However, I look like I'm 15 or 19 years old. It really depends on who you ask. I'm only 5 foot tall. I always dye my hair a lot, and my skin tends to glow in the dark because I'm so pale. I have always been neckbeard bait, and I still am. At the time, I was only 16 years old. Usually people thought that I was like 10 or 13. Which makes this story all the more creepier. I've fallen into the weeb trap, and to this day, I'm so happy that Facebook was not a thing back then, because I was the embodiment of an anime girl. I mean, the hair clips, the schoolgirl outfit, and yes, sometimes the cat ears. Luckily for me, there's no photographic evidence of my dark anime, kawaii freak show that was my behavior back then. Now to the neckbeard. He was 33 years old. And he was a slight annoyance of my existence. He was 6+ foot tall, extremely thin, and balding. He looked like a reject from the Walking Dead zombie cast. He had a very thin face, and it was weirdly shaped like a big skull, which made his balding all the more prominent. It was like a mushroom with wiry hair on the top. He had leathery skin, which the sun doth not dare to look upon, and a scent that would make a garbage dump blush. Oh yes, Loli extraordinaire. This neckbeard ran a game shop. He ran this in his basement. It's pretty much our country's version of Blockbuster. Somehow I found myself a boyfriend who didn't mind me looking so young. He said I didn't look so young that it made him feel like a pedophile. Yeah, that was comforting. My boyfriend at the time was 3 years older than me, and he was very autistic. He had one friend, the game shop neckbeard. I've seen him a few times whenever I went to the store to buy stuff. This guy gave me the creeps, being a very tall, thin Nosferatu looking dude. His skin added to his vampiric look. The sun apparently had never laid his rays on his fair skin, to the point that it looked gray. This coming from a girl that gets second-degree burns from the shade. He also smelt like he lived in a coffin in a graveyard that was built on a waste disposal site that was flooded by sewage. The shop was in a literal basement, and girls really were a rarity there. Anytime I dared to venture inside this den of sweat, misery, and steel, I was either followed by random people that wanted to see me and figure out what I was trying to buy, or quiz me on random knowledge about games, because girls don't play games, or try to guide me to cutesy girl games, and leave alone the games that belong to the men. Now on to the story. My boyfriend invited me to come over to his friend's house. I stupidly agreed to this and went to the den of the beard. Honestly, the downstairs of this wannabe Edward Cullen's was pristine. It did have a mandatory pair of katanas on the wall and every possible game console in existence plugged into this teensy tiny little TV. But honestly, it was pretty cool. We played some Scott Pilgrim, talked about games, and had a really nice time. He did keep staring at me, but I thought it was just because he was really socially awkward. Then he decided to give me the upstairs tour. His tiny bedroom was covered in anime posters and figurines. And I do mean covered. They were everywhere. On the walls, on the floors, and his bed sheets. Every one of them were lollies. Right next to the bedroom was a much larger room, and it was filled with manga and anime. Now, honestly, I was in heaven, but I was way too naive to see anything wrong with this, because he had an excessive amount of lolly anime, posters, and figurines. I was an innocent wee child. My boyfriend had gone downstairs, not really being interested in manga, so I was left alone with this Walking Dead looking garbage bag. This was the first time I felt uncomfortable. While I was looking through his anime, he kept getting closer and closer and asking me questions.
So what do you like and dislike? How long have you and your boyfriend been together? What kind of games do you play? Would you cosplay as a Loli? That would be hot.
When he got too close, I put the manga back. Then I started to walk for the door. He got there before me though, and he blocked the exit. Then he asked me,
"What are you doing with a Chad like him?"
My boyfriend was actually a triathlete, and he continued,
"You need someone who understands you."
Now, he didn't use the word Chad. That wasn't a thing in our language. But what he said pretty much meant the same thing. Well, I didn't respond to his question, and I said,
"Move."
"I will only let you go if you give me a hug."
Now, this 33-year-old 6-foot-tall man was blocking my way out. My boyfriend was nowhere to be seen, and I was scared. So I did what he asked. I gave him a quick hug, and I turned him while I was doing it, so that I can get out of there quicker. I left feeling very uncomfortable, but also guilty, because my boyfriend had told me that he was just lonely, and that he was a very nice guy. So I must have been overreacting or something? Well, I really wasn't. Because I was bullied a lot in middle school, I kinda switched the blame to myself. Now, when I was 12, people thought that I looked from 7 to 9 years old. I was very small, very nerdy, had big glasses, and interests that the classmates did not have. I went to a very free-spirited school. They focused on nature and everything natural, and I was a computer geek. I was one of the 2 people in the class of 30 that had a computer. This was early 2000s. I just didn't fit in, and they didn't let me forget it. I had a lot of psychological and physical scars at this time. By the time I was 15, I've already created a shell that kept the bullies at a distance. I went full anime girl. They might have found me annoying and weird, but with my loud, obnoxious attitude and clothes, they tend to let me alone. The anime culture also brought along some friends. For the first time since elementary, I had people who actually liked me. They were cringy and socially awkward. So was I. So when this man cornered me and demanded a hug, I just did it. I was terrified of having people not like me, so I just didn't say no. The day after I left, I got a text from this man on my phone. He'd asked my boyfriend for my number, who just gave it to him. For the love of... this guy would not stop sending me text, telling me,
"Good morning." "Good night, my lady."
And yes, he actually said my lady, almost daily, asking me,
"What are you doing?"
Sending me names of anime, asking me,
"What would you ever cosplay as? A Loli?"
His messages got more and more personal, sending me personal information about himself and his feelings. He often told me,
"I feel really connected with you. You're the only one that understands me. You're the only one that keeps me from killing myself. Can I call you?"
This went on and on. I never did call him. I knew how to say no a little, but I was worried for him. But I was scared that if I stopped talking to him, he might actually hurt himself. Now, as a reminder, my boyfriend and the Neckbeard were best friends. So this lolly-loving, sewer-breath corpse had been texting and flirting with his best friend's girl. The day after we broke up, he told me,
"I've never met someone like you. You're an amazing person."
Blah, 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 and etc. And that...
"I want to take you to a Japanese restaurant."
Like a naive little girl that I was, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Just friends eating, right? It didn't occur to me that he was asking me out on a date. Luckily, however, for me, when I got the message, I was with my mom. And when I told her about the text, the alarm bells that didn't go off in my head went off in hers. She honestly had to explain it to me, why it was so inappropriate, and why I should decline the offer. So I did. I sent him a message saying,
Though I'm flattered, I feel our 17-year age difference is an issue for me, and I don't feel comfortable meeting you.
This Nosferatu incarnate went to cringy Neckbeard to full nice guy in no time. He responded by saying,
"I just asked you out as a friend. I thought we were both Japanese lovers and I wanted to hang out with you. I now realize that you're a self-involved that thinks the world lay at your feet and don't deserve my friendship. I'm too good for you. You're just like every other in my life. No one ever gives me the time of day, and women only want jet guys. I hope you live a miserable life.
And so on. After this glorious tirade, he blocked my number, so that I couldn't respond. I was too afraid to see him face to face, so I just let my siblings go buy stuff for me at the game shop. I did go back after that, when I finally developed a spine and cared less about what other people thought of me. If he was working there, he would leg it all the way to the back of the store, hiding behind the employee's door, up until the time that I left. Now and then I would see him peeking around the door with his giant head, just to see if I was still there or not. Then he would quickly disappear again. I'd since moved away from that area, and I haven't been back there in years. Every now and again, I wonder if he found the Japanese lolly of his dreams. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, hope that he didn't. Start up the story, I'm a big weeb. I started off as a babysitter for this one family. I became really good friends with the boss, and he had several children, so I kinda got adopted into the family. This story is about the Smelly man. He was like 25 or so, he stunk, and he was fat and generally very gross. Two of the kids that I looked after, that will be mentioned in the story, was Pomeranian and Chihuahua. They were the boss's kids. They were twins, and they loved chaos, and they also craved violence. So my boss and I took the kids to the playground. This was in a cul-de-sac right behind the house. They knew all the rules, they kept their mask up, but eventually Oz got dragged away by his little cousin, left me alone on the bench. This is a new area, so I wasn't afraid of being alone. Well, that was soon to change. Enter the Smelly man. I was learning how to spell in French, which is kind of difficult because I barely knew how to speak English. Plus, I also have dyslexia, when all of a sudden, something blocked out the sun. I looked up, and I saw this weird man staring at me. Then he commented,
"I like your My Hero Academia mask."
Thank you. I like how you don't have one on.
He caught my sarcasm, and he went through his pockets and pulled out a mask. It had faces on it. The faces were called a Heigao, and if you don't know what those are, they're the faces that the anime girls make when they're filled with pleasure, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you'll probably notice online that there's tracksuits of it, t-shirts and the like. Well, I thought that he would leave me alone, but he sat down right next to me. That's when the smell hit me. As a side note, my niece visited my mom about 2 weeks ago, and she decided to pour milk into a plastic tub in her dollhouse. Well, it sat in the heat for like 2 weeks. To kind of put it in perspective, it was around 37 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that smelled better than what he smelled like. I didn't want to be rude and tell him to move away because he smelled like a moose's coochie. So trying to be nice, I just said,
Can you move? Because Miss Rona is still a thing and I don't want to get sick.
Well, he just laughs.
Yeah, like that's a thing.
He said that in a way that was obvious that he didn't believe it. And that really makes me mad, because I lost family members to this virus, and we can't go anywhere because of bastards like this. He crossed his legs and leaned back. He rested his arms above the bench, and oh dear God, did his armpits stink. I was wearing a mask with a filter, and I could still smell him. Then the man pulled off his face mask, started digging through his teeth with his fingernails, look at it, smell it, and then proceeded to wipe it on his pants. His teeth were disgusting. It was like this gross yellowish green buildup, and when he did that, I just gagged. I legit gagged. That was it for me. I got up, and I sat on a different park bench, and like the weirdo that he was, he followed me, and he told me,
"Hey, I'm not done talking to you."
I am done talking to you.
So now we're on different benches, and he put his foot on the bench, and I saw so many stains around his crotch. I'll spare you the gross details, but you probably can imagine what it looked like, and believe me, it might actually be grosser than you think. I just tried to ignore him. Well, the Smelly man decided to make more conversation.
So, what kind of anime do you watch?
He started naming off a bunch of mecha anime, but I told him,
I hate anime with big robots.
except for one. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the character where he's trapped in a mecha suit, and he's from the samurai times, brought into the future. Well, apparently that was an unforgivable sin, not sharing his opinion. He started ranting and raving.
You don't know what good anime is. If you don't know what anime is, then you're more than likely one of those fake gamer girls.
I wasn't saying anything. I was just hoping if I didn't pay attention to it, it would just go away. Then my phone went off. My notification was Beelzebub from Shall We Date, saying that I got a message. I didn't look at my phone because I thought it was actually a message from the game itself. But to my surprise, Smelly Dude actually knew what the sound was from.
Is that from Obey Me?
I looked at him like, what do you know about the game? I mean, guys can play the game? Oz was the one that showed me the game in the first place, but I wasn't expecting anyone, especially like him, to be into that kind of game. That was kind of shocking to me. I guess the Smelly Man saw the facial expression, and he became quite proud, and he stated,
Yeah, my sister plays that game all the time. I think the game is faggy, but, you know, all of them are a bunch of stupid chads, but the only character I like is Luke. Oh, I think he is cute.
Now the smile that came across his face when he said that was intensely creepy. It didn't come across in the way that he thought he was adorable, but like he wanted to bang him. I know Luke is like 100 years old, but he looks just like a kid, a child. He literally looks like he's 10 years old. Then he dug at his teeth and wiped it on his pants again. And that was enough for me. I got up to get out of there because I was gonna vomit. So I started to walk away. Then he proceeded to ask,
Oh, where are you going?
As far away from you, nasty pedophile.
Then he grabbed me.
I'm not done talking to you.
And then I started to freak out. Not because he grabbed me. I do have a fear of man. But he grabbed me by the arm with the hand that he was using to dig his teeth. I started hitting him, telling him,
Let me go.
And then he tightened his grip on my arm and started dragging me back to the bench. I hear running and a loud screech.
Get away from my mom!
I saw a foot collide into this Smelly Man's face. He fell to the ground when another onslaught of pummeling ensued. Pomeranian and Chihuahua had come to the rescue. This Smelly Dude looked back at us in shock. He started cleaning his bloody nose. Then he made a big mistake. He decided to stand up. Then the chaotic duo attacked him again, full force. I tried to stop them, but I looked down on my arm, and I realized that the Smelly Man's teeth gunk was on my skin. I ran to the bathroom gagging. I was trying to wipe it off, but this putrid gunk was making me gag all the while. Now, I'm a germaphobe. Outside of sexy times, I don't like other people's germs on me. Oz came in and he asked what happened. I tried to explain it, but I was still freaking out, and it sounded like gibberish. Eventually he calmed me down. I was still crying because it was so gross. I explained what happened in the best way that I could. It was so gross. We went outside and I saw that my boss's oldest child was holding back his little brother, and they were out for blood. Twin 2 was screaming,
Let me go! I want to kill him!
and Twin 2 was screaming,
Don't you let me catch you on the street again, you I don't ever want to see you again.
Well, I looked over at the Smelly Man and he was covered in blood. He was surrounded by people. The cops came and we explained what happened. Apparently this wasn't his first time. I was right to call him a pedophile, but this was the first time that he got his ass kicked by 2 9-year-olds. He was one of the oldest son of a Karen in the cul-de-sac. He got arrested, and now the entire neighborhood knows not to screw with these twins. Thank you for joining me for the Neckbeard experience. I'm going to give a special thanks to Sean Cochran. You can find him on Twitter as Sean Cochran and Crocodile Voice. Again, thank you very much for your lovely voice acting. I hope to have you on again. I want to give a special thanks also to my patrons. Your help is greatly appreciated. I did recently get an email with a story for the Neckbeard experience, but I don't know what happened to it. I'm sure I didn't delete it, but I can't find it. So if you did send that one, please send it again, because I can't find it. Sorry about that. Trying to get better about it, checking it. But yeah, if you guys have any Neckbeard stories or anything, just send them my way. I'd love to read them. And if I could use them, I'd love to. I know I haven't been so good at it in the past, but, you know, time and circumstances. Don't think that I don't appreciate getting them. I really do. Well, I hope this has brightened your day a little bit. I'm gonna turn on the air because I'm starting to sweat to death. I don't really have any airflow in this office, so. Plus, we don't have air conditioner in here. Yeah, I know, it's weird. Probably gonna get one for next year. It's starting to cool down, so it's not too bad right now. Well, thanks again for joining me. And until next time, this is Dallas, signing off.